When you go to work, who are you working for? Working for a paycheck? Sure, you need to take care of your family. Working for the satisfaction it brings? Sometimes can also exhaust and irritate you. Working for the customer? Maybe they bring their own peccadillos into the equation, making your life harder with their demands and complaints. Are you working for the man? Working to make the bottom line of the corporation look a little better? Working like a dog so that you won't land on the list of potential layoffs that are rumored to be coming? Figuring out the reason for your work can be difficult. The days of getting a job out of high school or college and working solely for that company or at that trade for the next 45 to 50 years are long gone. We call it a career, but ask the coal miner if it feels like a career or a job. Ask the delivery driver, the grocery clerk. Are they in a career or are they doing a job for a paycheck? Is the daily slog fulfilling or just exploitation of your time and effort in exchange for money? In Parsha Chayei, after Abraham buried his beloved wife, he realized that the promise of descendants that outnumber the stars wasn't going to happen if Isaac never married and had children. He turned to his senior servant with a job that needed to be done. While the servant's name is not mentioned in this portion, it is widely believed that this was Damasek Eliezer, to whom he referred in Genesis 15 as the one who would likely become his heir. O Lord God, what can you give me, seeing that I shall die childless, and the one in charge of my household is Damasek Eliezer? Since you have granted me no offspring, my steward will be my heir. That was before the cutting covenant with God, before the births of Ishmael of his son by Hagar and Isaac, his son by Sarah. Now Ishmael was living in Paran with a wife his mother got him from Egypt, Genesis 21:21. But Isaac, still at home after his near brush with death at the top of the mountain, and no prospects were in sight. God called to Eleazar and gave him explicit instructions of what to do to find a wife for Isaac. We read at the end of Vayera that Abraham received word that his brother Nahor and wife Milcah had 6 sons. The youngest son, Bethuel, had a daughter named Rebekah. Since marriage to family members was common, he sent Eleazar to his native land to bring back a wife. He didn't say it had to be Rebekah. He just didn't want Isaac to marry some Canaanite woman. Eleazar must have suggested that Isaac accompany him, perhaps to give his approval, because Abraham expressed adamant disapproval. On no account must you take my son back there, Genesis 24:6. Instead, Abraham promised Eleazar that God himself would send his angel to assist him. In verse 8, and if the woman does not consent to follow you, you shall be clear of this oath to me, but do not take my son back there. Mission was defined with no additional instructions as to how to identify the right woman. Eleazar decided he needed to define a test for the right kind of girl to marry his master's son. So he prayed the following prayer. Genesis 24, verses 13 and 14. Here I stand by the spring as the daughters of the townsmen come out to draw water. Let the maiden to whom I say, please lower your jar that I may drink, and who replies, drink, and I will also water your camels. Let her be the one whom you have decreed for your servant Isaac. Sure enough, he had scarcely finished his prayer when Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, came to the well to fill her jar. Eleazar ran to request a sip, and she let him drink his fill before she offered to water his 10 camels. Torah tells the story, including every detail you can imagine. Eleazar asks if he might spend the night at her home, and she welcomes him. Once there, Eleazar is introduced to her brother Laban. His camels are safely housed, and he is given a place to sleep. In a rare instance of repetition, Torah recounts the entire story again, with Eliezer telling Rebekah's family how he came, what he prayed, and how she had fulfilled the request to the letter. He asks if Rebekah would be allowed to return to Canaan with him and become Isaac's wife. In a move that is seldom recognized as an example of women of biblical times having a say in their future, the family announced that they would allow her to leave only if she consented. And that's how Isaac got a wife. It wasn't via Tinder or Match.com or even a Jewish matchmaker, as might have been more common in that era. Instead, she agreed to travel a long distance with a perfect stranger in order to marry her cousin, sight unseen. Eliezer is the example of the perfect employee. He saw his task not as disconnected or unimportant, but as a task given to him by God himself. He saw his purpose in the moment and acted in accordance with it. No hubris, no resentment for having to make this long journey in such a momentous decision. He just did it. The Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, in his Likutei Sichot 28, said that we must use every ability God has given us, even the smallest detail, for the purpose and mission for which we were created. What is that mission? Schneerson says it is realizing that I was created only to serve my Creator. How are you doing at that? Rabbi Lazer Gurkow, leader of Congregation Beth Tefillah in London, Ontario, wrote a book titled Mission Possible: Living with Higher Purpose. In the book, he tells the story of the cost of fulfilling the mission given to each of us by God. A man once called out to God and asked for fulfillment. God appeared and said, "As it happens, I have some fulfillment available today at a reasonable price. How much do you have in your pocket?" $20. Well, as it happens, I'm running a special. The cost of fulfillment today is $20. But that's all I have. And if I give it to you, I won't be able to buy gas for my car. "Ah," says God, "you have a car. The price for fulfillment just went up. $20 plus your car. But without my car, how will I get to my job?" "Ah, you have a job. The price for fulfillment went up again. $20 plus your car and your job. But without a job, how will I provide for my family?" "Ah, you have a family. The price for fulfillment will include your family too. Do we have a deal?" The man decides to keep quiet this time, and he agrees. "But one more thing," says God. "Before I give you fulfillment, I want to give you these $20. But it's not your money, it's mine. I want you to be my agent and spend it as I would. I also want you to take the car, but remember, it isn't your car, it is mine, and I want you to drive it to the places that I would. I also want you to take the job, but it's not my job that you have, so I want you to behave, but it's my job that you have, so I want you to behave there as I would. Finally, I want you to take the family, but it's not your family, it's mine. Care for them as I would." And with this, the man finally found fulfillment. Are you looking for fulfillment and peace? Give everything you have to him for his purpose. Remember that you are created only to serve your Creator. If you can do that, you will find your purpose and true fulfillment.